What's going on, Knicks Nation? What's going on, SB community? Just wanted to hop in. Great victory, early game today by our New York Knicks facing the Phoenix Suns, and we came out successfully eclipsing the Phoenix Suns with a score of 102 to 83. Knicks dominated. When I tell you dominated. It was absolute phenomenal basketball to watch. It was high level basketball. The Garden was confused, and part of that is probably because it was an early game. But once again, our New York Knicks played 2 games in a row. Now with 2 games over 500, being 20 and 18. Just a beautiful way to just start off the new year with a win like this. And another one coming up on Wednesday in our revenge game against the San Antonio Spurs. It needs to be a spanking on Wednesday. But today's game was really enjoyable to watch. Early start, so I know that kind of threw off, or it has the potential to throw off a lot of players. But, man, one thing I'll say is Jalen Brunson is back. So if you hadn't had the opportunity to watch the game and you're looking at the box score, you'll see Jalen Brunson was able to come back for this game. And it was great. It was great having him back. Something that is completely tangible is it's a feel that you have. He brings a calming influence over the team. You know, when he's back in the lineup, the ball flows. The ball flows. It moves. Everybody is moving. Today, it was evident. In addition to Jalen Brunson, it was evident that the ball continues to have that same flow with Emmanuel quickly holding down the point. And I 100% have to give Emmanuel complete props, man. It's been impressive seeing his development at the point guard position, and they're all flowing. They're all flowing. So kudos to Jalen Brunson being back. It was a game once again where Julius put another feather in his cap for All-Star votes. If you haven't gone to vote for this man, listen, last year, I know the season he had, we were pulling back. We were just like, listen, you got to earn these votes for All-Star. I think that's what kind of triggered the thumbs down. That man is absolutely earning it this year. So if you haven't done so, they allow you realistically to vote as many times as you want. Go vote for that man for All-Star. Go vote for Jalen Brunson for All-Star, man. Let's get some representation. Let's get some representation at this game outside of the three-point contest or the dunk contest, man. Let's put this man back in there. Let's get our representation. He's absolutely going off. This man had a phenomenal game today. Inside, outside, on the defensive end, rebounding. You know, you got to give this man his credit. And something that we realized today, and I realized it the moment it happened, the return of MVP chance for this man in the Garden. Kudos to you, Knicks fans. Kudos to you. Kudos to you, Knicks fans. It's one of those things where it was a tip of the cap to Julius. Tip of the cap to him saying like, yo, we see you and we respect that. And we see your work that you're putting in. Kudos to Nick. I was so proud of you cats, you know, doing that. He sensed it. And interestingly enough, it was an awkward moment after the game. But in the after the game interview, you know, I think Rebecca Harlow asked him about, you know, these fans and MVP chants. And it was one of those moments, but he was political about it. He was just like, it was dope. He was just like, you know, the best part of the stretch is playing in front of the fans. I was just like, Julius got his script scripted. You know what I mean? But can't knock him for that. It's exactly what you want to see because we all been looking for an excuse to kind of get back behind this cat and pause. Get back behind this cat because the team is coming together. It seems like the pieces are playing well. Julius was balling out. You know, it's not much to point at. Even, listen, I'm all over my note sheet, and I'm going to get to that. Shout out to you cats who are in the chat previewing, you know, the predicate. Shout out to you, the predicate. He says 2018, definitely a good start to the year. Absolutely. Listen, we build one game at a time. And it's good to see that we're doing this one step at a time. But the team, man, seems to be locked in terms of playing together. Predicate also says Flight 45, Ed Jericho. Let's go. Let's go. Needs more playing time. I agree, but I like how Tibbs is sprinkling them in. You know, like he's getting more time than he's ever seen in years past because Tibbs likes this Biggs lineup that he has when he's able to throw in a Hartenstein and Mitch and a Jericho and Mitch. Who's getting a rebound when you got Jericho, Mitch, and Randall on the floor? There's no rebounds for you. You know what I mean? So I think give him some time. Like this year is probably going to be the year that he sees the most minutes. You got to remember he's still a youngin in terms of the team. But I think he's going to play a critical role for us when we make the playoffs and we start to make that run. He's going to play a critical role. He's bouncy, he's physical, all of that. You know, so to that I'd say just stay patient. Just stay patient. I think that's going to come around. But a couple other points, man. I mean, I just feel good about this team. You're going to hear people say things about Randall. Trade season is coming up. You're going to hear people say things about the coach. I don't care what I hear. I don't care what's being said. I feel good about this team. I feel good about this team. I feel good about the pieces we have. I love the fact that they're showing cohesion. I love the fact that I'm watching Quickly on the floor. I'm watching Mitch on the floor. Historically, when we go on a stretch and we you know, and the other team calls a timeout because we're on a run, you know, these cats would typically be jokey and all effervescent. Yo, these cats are about business. I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it. It's like, yo, we're on a mission to show we're more than whatever people are talking about negatively. We're more than what they're saying. You know what I mean? So I'm loving that. Let me get back to my notes. So the offense was moving with a lot of fluidity. Now, I know some people will look at this score and they'll say, oh, you know what? Well, who was there anybody injured? Oh, Devin Booker was out. Well, we had RJ out. All right. So the people will look at it and say Devin Booker was out. Listen, you have a championship contender on the other side, Phoenix Suns. They had Ayton, they had their Hall of Fame point guard in the lineup, and they have Bridges out there. So no excuses. The New York Knicks went out there, hit him with a uppercut and a cross, you know, hit him with that 1-3 combination and got him off balance. And then the Knicks didn't look back. They had Peyton, Paul, and Bridges out there. At one point, the Knicks were up 32. At one point in this game, the Knicks were up 32. And by that same token, the Knicks had went on a 21-0 run in this game. That was the first time in 3 years that they had gone on such a run. It was beautiful to watch. It was a beautiful thing to watch. They were passing. They were looking for each other. One thing I love, man, I'm a big fan of Grimes too. I'm a big fan of Grimes. Not only is he smooth, silky smooth, every time he puts up that three, you think it's going in. But the man has the ability, once they run him off the three-point line, he has the ability to drive and either finish strong and efficiently at the basket, or he looks for the bigs. I pointed this out in my notes, something that I've seen more than any other time since we drafted Mitchell Robinson are other players on the teams looking for our bigs for the Gotham lob, looking for our bigs underneath the basket, looking for our bigs at moments, if we look at the past 3 games, to post in the paint. More so than not, we have players who have the ability to distribute the ball and get the bigs involved. Grimes, man, stay driving to the basket. That Magic Johnson joint. Yo, he stay hitting off, whether it's Mitch who goes up strong. All of our bigs go up strong. All of our bigs go up strong if they're around the basket. So it's a beautiful thing to see that we're getting these bigs involved in the game. You know what I mean? So the predicate, you with me, you ride with me, says true indeed. Also, let me check your other comment. It says, do you think they should move Obi? Oh, man. Let me hold that to the end of the game. Let's get through this victory, bro. I don't think they should move. I think they should move Treetop. Treetop, let's go. I like that. Honestly, no, I don't think so. But we'll talk about that as I wrap up. Mitch shows that he has the original bunnies. It was a nice setup in the paint. Our bigs dominate, bro. We dominate. Something else that I love today, our defense was on a string. Shout out to Evan Fournier. Shout out to Evan Fournier. Evan Fournier got time today. And I've been paying close attention to him, not to put him under the spotlight. But since we went down with injuries and he came in the previous game, I think it may have been like 2 games that he's played now, 2 or 3 games, where he has had to come in because of our injuries. Evan is playing his ass off on defense. Evan is fighting to make sure Tibbs knows that he is not a liability when he's in a lineup. He is fighting through, fighting around, fighting over and under picks. Evan is playing his ass off in terms of defense, and you got to give him props for it. You have to give him props. He's trying to keep his time on the floor. But that defense, as you watch the highlights or if you watch the replay, if you missed the game, you're going to see that the defense was playing on a string. Something I did before I was going to do again is called I wanted to be the Tibbs translator. You know how they had the anger translator? Well, I was going to be the Tibbs translator. Because in a post-game interview after the last win that we had, he had told everybody, he had said, he went and told the team, we're one of the top teams in this league. We lead the league in about 5 defense statistical categories. And when he said that, he had mentioned that to the team, I'm like, talk your stuff, Tibbs. You got to talk your stuff. That type of talk reminds me, once again, I said it on the last broadcast, it reminds me of Kyle Shanahan. I'm a Niners fan. And that's the type of talk and the Niners on the 9-game win streak. When you know you have a team that has that ability and has that capability, and you go in there and you remind them of who they are. And for this team, I think this team is being reminded, they're reminding us who they are. But they played with confidence today. They played like they expected to win by this much. They played like they expected to come into Madison Square Garden and get this victory. It's phenomenal to see, man. Something's happening. Something is happening. After the victory, shortly before the new year, we were 1 win better than we were in that 2-year-ago playoff run. So we're in better position now than we were 2 years ago when we made that run. And I tell you this much, we have more talent on this team. We have much more it's much more legitimate, the team that we have. And I think they really expect to go on another run. And it looks like we're in pretty good shape to do so. So that was good to see as well. Once again, I just love the defense. We held the Phoenix Suns to 11 points in the first quarter. Come on, what are you talking about? 11 points in the first quarter. The defense was buzzing. If you have an opportunity to watch a game again, unfortunately it was at 3. If you missed it because of work, watch the game. You're going to be pleasantly surprised with the way we played. I think this team continues to put the league on notice. They're playing their ass off for Tibbs. They're playing their behinds off for each other. And you see it on the floor. When I'm watching other teams, when I'm watching these games they play, I watch how other teams interact with each other. I don't watch every other team, but it's a difference in how you see our team fight for each other, connect with each other, than other teams are experiencing at that time as well, man. There's something special going on. Predicate also says Grimes cuts and moves into view so that Julius can find him when necessary. He saves Julius from Julius. 2 things. Absolutely right. First and foremost, you're absolutely right with that. All of our team is doing that. All of our team, when someone has the ball and they're either getting doubled or they're feinting the double, the team is starting to move more often so that they get in a view so that the pass can be made. But this season, I got to step in for Julius on this one, man. Julius has been saving himself from Julius. Probably I could count on one hand the number of times he went for that spinning and sending move that he does. And that almost guarantees he turns the ball over. I could count on one hand. He's been saving himself from himself. And he said in the post game, credit to Jalen Brunson. He said he takes the pressure off me. He did mention Quick too. He said between Quick and Jalen Brunson, they take that pressure off me to score. If we look at 2 years ago, when he had that phenomenal run, there was nobody else scoring. He had to carry New York on his back. There was nobody else scoring. But he got shooters now. He got shooters. He got people to come in and take that pressure off him. So listen, man, I'm going to give him his kudos, bro, because he is locked in. He is locked in, and the team is joining him. Mitch is locked in. Yo, I was sitting there watching the game today, and they were battling for rebounds, and both him and Jules were under the basket. And I looked at them in a moment. I was just like, yo, who getting the boards with those two under the basket? Yo, the more cohesion that we have, the more we play together, the more we stay locked in as a team and kill the outside noise, the more we're going to start seeing our team go into games looking to dominate. This team has the talent. They have the size. They have the ability to drive the basket. They have the ability to shoot the three. We cover a lot of the phases of the game with this very roster we have, not even considering any moves. And once we get back healthy and we get Obi back, so we could go back to our bench rotation and bring back the terror squad, bro, I don't know if we talked about at the very beginning of the season, the depth of this team. Who more deep than us? Man, listen, it was a good game. It was good to watch from wire to wire. Domination. And we're having more games than that. There was it's a high number of games we played this season where we had phenomenal leads. The team is just learning how to win. Those young bucks, when we played Houston, they talked about the number of 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds that were on the Houston roster. That was us 3 or 4 years ago. Those very players that we kept and allowed to keep together and grow, those very players now have experience, and they have a couple of vets thrown in there who have experience as well. So we got young players who are now learning to win at this level in New York, in the NBA. Bro, once they figure it out, it's going to be a problem, and we'll be set up for a few years to come. It's crazy. It's crazy. Let me go to some of the comments. I don't want to lose sight of the comments as well. Love it. Your predicate. Yo, we rolling. We rolling together. We on this thing. So he says, I agree with that. Also, she about Julius. Absolutely, man. I'm about to drop a video, and I never did a video on Julius. I had beef with Julius, man, as we all did. So I was just like, I was intentionally like, nah, man, listen. And I still feel, I don't know. My biggest thing was I didn't think Julius had the mentality for New York. It's just different with that spotlight on you. But one thing you can't say, man, anybody can say anything they want about Julius. Julius has more heart than these stars who had free agent opportunities and chose to sidestep the spotlight of MSG. But they want to cover it up by saying, oh, that's my favorite place to play. Yeah, that's your favorite place to play when you visit. But you don't want that smoke. And Julius came because of whatever conditions, whatever circumstances, whoever sidestepped, whether it was KD not coming here and we had to get somebody. But Julius hasn't run. So if nothing else, Julius can be like, he could look anybody in that all-star game locker room. He could look anybody in that face and be like, yo, if you had the opportunity to step in the garden and you bypassed it, don't even talk to me. You ain't a bus driver, like Charles Barkley said. So props to that cat for being here and not leaving at the first sign of an opening to get out of New York. He stuck with it. Now, will he be here when we reach the promised land? I don't know. But in the meantime, he's just like, yo, I'm going all out while I'm here. So shout out to him. You got to respect him. Predicate also says Blockness is doing his job on the offensive boards this season and staying healthy. Listen, health is wealth for this team. Health is wealth for this team. Mitch said something that was really important at the beginning of the season before the start of the season came about. He said, when we had that run 2 years ago and I was out because I was injured going into the playoffs, he said, I know that Atlanta series would have been different had I been here. So he said he wanted to see what that felt like. He said to be in the Garden with the fans fired up, spilling out into the streets after a playoff game. He said that electricity, although I was on the bench, he said I wasn't in it. I want to see what that feeling looks like. That feeling is going to be 2023. Playoffs 2023. That feeling is coming this year. So you're absolutely right, man. Blockness is doing this thing. Something else I want to talk about. It's funny why. It's a good game to watch, but it was also a good game to listen to as well. We had Wally on the call, so I think it was Wally and Breen. And there was a point in time where DeAndre Ayton took a 3-point shot and it chipped the paint on the front of the rim, right? And Wally said something like, "Oh man, that was ugly. That looked like one of Mitch's free throws." And you could tell Breen looked at him, was like, shots fired. You know what I mean? Like, yo, how you going to kill our guy? And then Wally caught himself. It was like something he would say when you watching the game with your friend. It's almost like Wally forgot he was on TV on the MSG broadcast. So Breen called him out on it. It was a funny moment, man. But I was just like, yo, that joint was funny. He was just like, damn, did I say that out loud? He had to pull that back. So that was a moment. That's usually, if this was Knicks Deli, if I would have waited until tomorrow, if this was Knicks Deli, that would have been my nah, son, nah, you wildin' moment of the day. That would have went to Wally Zerbiak for his comment about Mitch's free throw. Let me see. There was this block by Quentin Grimes on Bridges, on the Bridges kid. And it really sums up having Deuce and Grimes in the lineup now. Having Deuce and Grimes in the lineup completely shifted the momentum of our season. That move is going to be one of the marked moments that we look back on no matter how far we take this thing in terms of wins. We get into the playoffs now, no matter what we do in terms of the success of this season, you only need to look as far as that move to insert Grimes and Deuce in the lineup. Quentin Grimes was all over that cat. And when he turned around and hit that curl, Grimes blocked the shot at the top of it without fouling. I was just like, yo, listen, that's what we need. That's what we've always needed in the starting lineup. When you got young legs, young, fresh legs that can endure the fatigue of playing offense and defense. I love it that it's bringing back our defensive identity. I love that. We can boast and say New York. You know what you're going to get when you go to New York. You know when you go into the Garden, it's going to be a physical game. You know exactly what to expect. You're going to have to play 48 minutes or more when you go into the Garden. You look on the calendar, you see San Antonio, you're like, all right, cool. You see Houston, you're like, cool. You look at New York, you're like, that's what you want. And that's what comes with it when we are a defensive team. Once again, Tibbs two games ago went into that locker room and was just like, yo, we one of the top teams in this league. Leading the league in 5 defensive statistical categories. Talk your talk. That's how it should be. That's exactly how it should be. All right. So once again, man, it was a great victory. If you hadn't had the chance to see the game, they do the replay, get on that. You're going to enjoy it. If you had a tough day, if you're coming out of a tough year in December 2022, get your food, get your plate, sit in front of the TV, watch that replay, man. It was good to watch. There was a couple of shots that Chris Paul hit to start the fourth that I was just like, all right, I need to watch him. You know, he got this opportunity for this moment. Tibbs was like, not right now, not this game, not on my watch. Called that timeout real fast. I was just like, thank you. You know what I mean? So called that timeout, settled it down, got the team back locked in. The ball never stopped moving. They never stopped crashing the boards. I don't know what the numbers are. I'm gonna have to go back. I apologize. I don't got the numbers on here. But you could feel it. One thing I absolutely love about this game, man, the eye test. They passed the eye test today. You know, when you're talking about did the team play defense, is the defense a mirage or a smoke screen? Nah, our defense is not smoke and mirrors. This is them. This is it. As long as they stay locked in. When you got Evan Fournier coming in for his minutes, hustling as much as anybody on his defensive assignment, everybody has that look like, I'm going to do my job. And when I do my job, we all get the job done. I love it. What I do love also is Jalen Brunson didn't seem to be moving with any hesitation. It looked like to have that time off was good enough to get his body healed. He was a little bit rusty. You know, he was missing a couple of free throws. But as they said on the call, he's his biggest critic. He's his biggest critic. There was also a moment, if you watch this game back, there was a moment where Brunson posted up Paul. And I love it because there's a couple of times, people have been probably calling me crazy. There's a couple of times where I am reminded, or I remind people that Jalen Brunson's impact on our team is like it reminds me of Chris Paul, where Chris Paul could come to a team and change everybody else's mindset and expectation, and they would have to meet his mindset and expectation. And that type of impact seems to be the impact that Jalen Brunson has had on the Knicks. But when he got that ball, he started posting up Chris Paul. Chris Paul was mad aggressive on him. And I love that Jalen welcomed that. You know what I mean? So he was like, he continued to pound and back him down. And I think he got Chris Paul to foul him. And I love that because it shows to me, it's been a while since the New York Knicks have had a player that presents a mismatch for the other team night in, night out. You know, so, and this is one of those moments where he's getting a little bit of buzz. You're going to have star players come in to this matchup willing to test them. All right, your numbers look good on TV, but how are you in real life? And for the members on our team, they're starting to step up to that challenge. I see it with Mitch. I saw it with Mitch today. I had wrote that down too. I'm like, Mitch is measuring himself against DeAndre Ayton. I'm sorry. I was just like, he's measuring himself. He knows that contract is the contract that was mirroring his. He probably had to leverage that contract against his negotiation. So Mitch is playing like, all right, we're going to see who's going to get these rebounds, who's going to have a good game. I know coming in with Chris Paul, Jalen Brunson was the same thing, saying the same thing. Like, all right, let's see what you got. Same thing happens with Julius is facing against Greek Freak. So it was a measuring stick, man. But today, you know, we really put in really put in some work. We put in some work. All right. Predicate. Let me hit a couple more of your comments. Let's see what you're talking. Yes. Let me see. Double-edged sword compliment. Wally. Yo, Wally's. We're gonna vote Wally to the All-Star game. First, he had his comments about Halliburton, talking about wannabe All-Star. You know, and I heard. I think it's because Rebecca Harlow was trying to get an interview, and he probably shaded her and didn't give her no interview. So Wally got on his mic calling Tyrese Halliburton a wannabe All-Star, and that kind of caught some flack. So he came back and apologized. Now he talking this smack. Yo, Wally, I love it, man. I love it. We wouldn't have it any. Cold Springs Harbor is gangster. You know, if y'all don't know, he's from Long Island, Cold Springs Harbor. Shout out to Cold Springs Harbor. You know, Wally repping hard for y'all right now. So Predicate also says Deuce and Grimes, H2R, defensive minded, bro. I love it. I love man, we are building our own. I love the fact that these are our own. We drafted them. And you gotta give Tibbs credit, man. He identified them as they were doing all those movements and machinations, trying to go up, go down. all right, we're going to trade this person over here. We're going to get these picks. We're going to go down a couple of spots. All you heard about was Tibbs saying, I want Deuce. Get this kid from West Virginia. Bob Huggins, get this kid. Keep your eyes on him. And the same thing with Grimes. You know what I mean? Like, he knows what he needs to run the system that he wants. And no matter what comments anybody have about the type of system we're running, etc., I'm telling you, listen, I understand a lot of you are younger, okay? And a lot of you may not like Tibbs, and you have a certain – I was here after the 90s with Scott Layton, with Isaiah Thomas. Come on, man, when we had Shannon Anderson. I know what terrible teams and terrible coaching looks like, and this is not it. This is not it. I'm telling you, Tibbs provides stability. If he carries out his contract and we don't bring him back, good. I understand. If we want to take the developed product to another level, then let's do that. You know what I mean? But if you're talking about, fire Tibbs now, are you serious? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. That's not how it works. With these young players in this generation, my bad if you're part of this generation, but y'all know stability is what works best for you. And as long as they're continuing to fight for him and you see that on the court, ain't nothing you can do. They believe in what he's selling. They believe in it. And we're starting to see some of these victories pile up. So, listen, it was a great victory today. Didn't want to keep y'all for too long. Just wanted to hop on here, man, and just share the excitement. Look for a video. I'm going to be putting together a video for Julius, man. He's had a great season. I should have it done by Saturday. But look for it, man. Little tip of the hat and props to Julius. He's had a up and down experience here in New York. But one thing I said at the very beginning was he hasn't run. He could be frustrating, but you look at him, you know he's talented. If you remove him from our lineup, we do lose a lot, especially if we're not quite sure the complete, consistent package that we'll get with Obi. All right? And speaking of Obi, you saw how I did that predicate. You saw how I brought that back around? So speaking of Obi, man, once again, I just think, well, let me read your comment real quick. We also have to give thanks to Bad Scouts for slipping up and not drafting Deuce, Grimes, Jericho, IQ, Obi. Yo, facts, man. Facts. Obi, I love the fact that Obi, all of our young players, man, there's been nobody, with the exception of the rumor that was out there that Cam was requesting a trade in the summertime. All right. With that exception, our locker room has been solid, bro. You haven't had anybody who was just like coming out making waves about Tibbs. Everybody is locked in. It's a lot to be said about that. Like, we've really worked on this culture. Like, yo, it's a lot to be said about that. We've really worked on this culture where you got vets who are forced to sit and let these young guys play. And they can't say nothing because we have changed the energy and we started winning on it as well. So they're like, yo, what can I say if the young guys are in there and they're not making the young guys feel out of place? They're welcoming them. They're continuing to mentor them. You know what I mean? All of this is happening in New York. You don't hear repeat. These young cats are continuing to battle them in practice so that they put out that product on the floor. They're locked in and they're locked in together. It is that them against the world mentality. So kudos to the coaches, man. All of the coaches, not only Tibbs. It's not a one-person thing. It's all of the coaches. So kudos to all of them, man. They play hard in front of the Garden. Listen, when you got 1 minute left and Julius Randle was hustling and got the interception with about a minute left in the game, I was just like, yo, these cats are trying to send a message. They're definitely trying to send a message. And I'm here for it. Let's go to comments as well. Silvery Gray, what's up, man? Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you all. Predicate, Happy New Year. Thanks for the post-game recap. I agree not to switch ships on Thibodeau yet. The Knicks have lacked stability for so long. That is one of my biggest things, man. Like this season, I think the longest other season we had was with D'Antoni. I think we had D'Antoni in here for at least 3 years. So in terms of the front office and the head coach being on the same page, whatever you will, whether people say it's favoritism, it's cohesion. All right, good or bad. If it gets bad, we know when it gets bad in New York. Like when it really gets bad. Like we've been there before. We've seen it. Where everything is just dripping toxicity. We've seen it before. And when it's coaching, we've seen it as well. You know what I mean? So just to have Julius and RJ come in at the same time. We signed Julius as a free agent. RJ was drafted that year. They came in at the same time. It was like 3 years ago. Tibbs was brought in. I think that was this is going into his third year as well, or the second. I don't know. I'm all over the place right now. But it's at least 3 years where they've all been able to grow together. That is unheard of in this league. And when you hear of it with Milwaukee. In Milwaukee, they was talking about trading Chris Middleton before they went on their championship run. And when they hit that championship, that's when everybody was talking about, oh, you know what? They didn't have to go out and get another piece. They had everything they needed in-house. And part of the benefit of what made them a better team over the other team they defeated was that they stayed together. They grew together. They win and they lost together. And that's the same type of story that we're building. I'm telling you. Something is happening in MSG. Positive. Something positive is happening in MSG. We got to recognize it for what it is. All right. Let me hit another couple of these comments. See what we got here. Salute, Ash. Ashley Inc. 1. Salute. Great game today. Absolutely great game today. We're going to be talking about this, I'm sure, all throughout the night. I'm looking forward to all the other stations, all the other channels hopping on there and hear their perspectives as well. The Knicks are playing like really solid basketball, man. It's just great to watch good basketball. And it's great to watch good basketball in front of the Garden fans. And for those of you who are just joining, if you missed the game, it's good to see and hear MVP chants for Julius. Good to hear those chants for Julius. And I would typically say, anytime we say MVP, Knicks fans know it may not necessarily mean that that person is a candidate for MVP. That's our way of showing them we appreciate our player. So that's the value we're putting on them. Like, we see you. So we're going to say MVP. In this case, though, Julius's stats, if we continue to pair it with wins, he might be in that conversation. He might not get past 5, but he may be in that conversation, like, legitimately for MVP. Because his numbers, he's been on the tear for the last 15 games. So we got, sometimes it's tough to see. It's tough to see the progress when you're in it, when you're so close and involved in it. People outside start looking at you like, yo, I see you. I wish I had, if you guys could check out the comments, there's people coming into the comments now like, yo, we see y'all team all right. Especially cats from Chicago. When we had that Chicago game, you know, they were talking smack at the beginning, all in my videos, all in my comment section, you know, trying to get people to come to death row. But after the game, they was just like, yo, listen, man, you know, we kind of hate to admit this, but, you know, you guys seem to be further along on y'all rebuild than we are. You know, that's what they were saying. You know, so I know they changed their fortune since, but other teams are starting to see what's happening in New York. Knicks fans, we just can't get blinded one way or the other. I know sometimes I could be overly over the top in terms of the positivity, but then there are other Knicks fans who are completely over the top in terms of the negativity. We gotta stay locked in like our team. We gotta stay locked in like Jalen Brunson and RJ. Stay here, you know, and let's ride this thing out and see where it goes, man. See where it goes. So welcome back, Ash. Always great to see you and have you in here. Happy New Year to you as well. Let me see what else we got. Predicate says, Happy New Year. Sheer salute to you, my brother. Keep bringing the truth. Go Knicks all day, every day. Thank you for supporting. Francisco Carrillo says, we ride. Whoa. Why you almost happy? We ride all day. Let's facts, but pause. You almost had me say that with some expression. Happy New Year to you, Francisco. 100%. It's our calling card at this point. You know what I mean? And it's just good to be back in that space. Good to be back in that space. A few other comments before I kind of wrap up. I want to thank y'all for hopping on here with me real fast. Or throw some questions if you have any questions in the chat. Do me a favor, run up the thumbs up. You know, let's get that. If we got 7 in here, let's get 7 likes. Let's get 7 thumbs up. You know what I mean? But there are a couple of things that stood out to me. Something small, but I notice it. The Knicks, I don't know if we truly appreciate what's been happening over the last 3 years. There was a complete impossible job that this organization had to do so that we completely take like 2 or 3 steps in the direction of just repairing what's been a really terrible product. You know, part of it was we had to not only change the product on the floor in terms of our play, in terms of our coach, in terms of our players, in terms of our front office. We had to change our image. We had to change the marketing. We had to change something as small as the music. We had to change the visitor experience, the viewer experience, all of that. There was so many things from top to bottom that had to change. And the Knicks have really worked hard to do so. You know, even with the commentators, they're engaging. We love Breen. We love Clyde. You know, it's good to see the team having some success while they're still commentating because they deserve it, man. They've been really making wine out of water for so many years in terms of keeping us engaged as viewers. But the organist, all right, New York, Madison Square Garden is the only place, as far as I know, in the NBA that has an organ player, right? You know, my bad, y'all. The only place that has an organ player. So it's good to hear the organist playing Biggie Smalls. Like I like, you know, I love it when you call me Big Papa. He was playing, and he also played Wu-Tang today. And I'm like, that's a real New York-ish, okay? When you have an organist and, you know, to hype up the crowd, the organist is playing Wu-Tang, all right? That's just some real New York-ish, man. That's some Knicks Deli-ish. I 100% love it. It's just a beautiful thing. It just feels good when our team is playing well. It's like we don't have to defend them so much. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like the last 25 years, part of the Knicks fan energy went into having to defend our squad, having to defend our organization. You know what I mean? And when they play at this level, we don't have to do it. We don't have to say nothing because it speaks for itself. I would tell people, especially 2 years ago, that's why we were going so hard 2 years ago, because we were just waiting. We know we're a sleeping giant as Knicks fans. We know here in the Mecca, we are a sleeping mother flipping giant. Like we deserve to be on TV. You know what I mean? We deserve to be leading the league in jersey sales. We deserve that. We deserve to be playing in the playoffs consistently. Yo, we deserve that. The best fans in the world. Come on now. So all those people who continue when we had that season last year, yo, they were happy with that. They were out in droves. Like, see the Knicks act like, you know, Knicks fans act like y'all were winning a championship that year. You know, y'all running players away. Listen, all I was telling the haters were, don't let us wake up, you know. So I apologize, folks. I gotta take this, but good win today. Shout out to you all. Happy New Year. And I'm gonna check the other broadcast as well with the other content creators and see how we all celebrate this victory. All right. Peace out, y'all.